We're driving a mobile incubator across America. And we've come to Kansas City to ask 60 artists one question. You make art, but what made you?
The short answer is pain.
Failure, faking it, and sacrifice.
What makes me me is
ambition and energy and drive and dreams.
What made me, man, so many influences and people.
A young mother's love.
I love you, I support you no matter what.
What made me is
this one moment that I remember.
I kind of felt like, man, I don't belong here.
Having existential crises.
Kind of feeling like an outsider.
I think what made me is my ability to persevere.
Confidence through adversity.
Because they told me I couldn't be an artist.
First step is saying that you have something to say and that you get to own that.
What made me?
I was 27 and I knew better than to be doing what I was doing. I was dating someone I didn't like just to be with somebody. I was in a city I wasn't really in for any particular reason except I didn't want to be a girl from the Midwest who stayed in the Midwest. I wanted to be someplace queer and adventurous and prove to people that I could make it in a very gold rush mentality. So when I got on that stage because people were telling truths that were keeping them alive, and the audience was not only validating that truth, but they were celebrating it. They were celebrating the saddest, hardest moments in a person's life. They were celebrating just getting it out there, getting rid of it, making it identifiable, and finding a way to turn it into a narrative and an experience rather than just this like deep, festering pile of darkness. Like they just were like, I've got to turn this into something beautiful and let it go.
I had to advocate for myself in survival mode. From early age as a child, I was always also told that that my truth wasn't real, that it was a lie, that whatever I was saying and experiencing wasn't real. And I think I'm stubborn, so I always was like pushing even harder to be like, this is what's happening. I think being a queer, trans, Latino, multiracial person who's experienced violence and homelessness and other things, I know that I have a voice, and as I was sharing, I've been using that voice for a long time. I think that the experiences that I had gone through and then what I had seen in communities that I've been part of that helped keep me alive and safe, I had knowledge and advocacy skills when I came here to be able to sort of like couple those all together, to be able to look at those moments that all of these different things are intersecting together. That was, I think, a big affirming moment. And then I started to go and do the work, and people kept over and over saying, you're amazing, this is great, oh my gosh, this is the best thing we ever got. And then I was like, okay, I'm really fierce,
So I have an interesting story about my name that I didn't learn until maybe I was in my early 20s. Years and years ago, I found out that I was named after my father's good friend, Philip Roseberry, who is, he was killed in a robbery in Brooklyn, coming out of a back door. But if you look up Phil Schaefer on the internet, what are you gonna find? You find a bunch of random people. You look up Sike style on the internet, it's a very specific thing. I adopted Sike in high school when I wanted to reference my hometown of Brooklyn. So back in the 80s, we would say, Sike, and we'd talk about kids. So when it came down to adopting a graffiti name or tag name in high school, I was like, Sike would be fun. I'd like to hear that again. And so the Sike has changed over years from just Sike to Sike Steez as I was DJing, and then Sike Style Designs when I was more of a designer, and then I expanded just to say, the umbrella thing is now Sike Style Industries.
As a photographer, I was always this very silent artist, this person that was really not interacting with people very much. During my time living on that school bus, I started making jewelry, therapeutically making jewelry, and as a social thing to do with other artists, because there were 3 other artists that were making jewelry on that school bus. I have this very distinct memory of I made 3 little friendship bracelets, and I took them out to a lady who was making fresh tamales on the street, and I asked her if she would want to trade a tamale for this friendship bracelet. And she picked one of them out, and she loved it, and we laughed, and my Spanish was super rough still at that time, but we had this very deep connection, and I just totally fell in love with the art of commerce.
When I was little, my first inclination was not to be a farmer, it was to be a backup singer, a stripper, or a dancer. That's what I told my dad when he asked me if I wanted to be a farmer, just like him. And I said, no, I want to be those things. And so I had a natural desire to perform for people. That came very natural, very early. And so when people would come to visit the farm, like seed dealers or, the gas man or, harvesters, farmhands, I would put a lot of song and dance. I might even dress in my mom's clothes and go out and perform for them on the wagon or, in the back patio after a long day's work, because I didn't really have the muscle to do the farm work, but I could put on a show. That was what I could do. I knew I was already an outsider because I was a homosexual in a small Kansas town. Right? I knew that from the get-go. I knew from the moment when my dad asked me if I wanted to be a farmer and I said, no, I want to be an artist, I was different. And so it's like, if you're going to call me a faggot anyway and treat me like an outsider, then it gives me great liberty and freedom to go ahead and explore that. It's like, you can tell me something I don't know? I mean, it really gave me wings. We were kind of talking about how destruction is the first act of creation. I think those mean farm boys who called me a faggot, I think they were soothsayers that set me free.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
I would tell my younger self, go and stay gone. And I would also tell her to stay sober. If I had done those two things, if I hadn't waited for everything to fall apart to run away, if I had just left and moved and struck out on my own because that's what I had wanted to do and not had to leave because of catastrophe, it could have been a totally different story.
I would say to younger Merrique, who probably didn't even know fully who she was yet, I would say that your truth is real, that your experiences are real, that your voice is strong, and to keep using it.
I would tell myself to speak up more, really. I think I've lived a very quiet life, and I haven't always felt comfortable giving voice to my story, or really claiming my story as my own. I think I often view my story as something that happened to me rather than something that I enacted.
What you say to people has repercussions.
Go all out, go strong, don't be fearful, don't be weak. You are so much stronger than you ever knew. And you will surprise yourself in ways that you can never even imagine. You'll have terrible things happen to you, and you will have beautiful, incredible moments and meet magnanimous people who will shift your life in profound ways. Enjoy the ride.
And what made me me?
What makes me what I am?
What makes me is
Ambition and energy and drive and dreams.
What made me?
What made me? Man, so many influences and people.
I think what made me is my ability to persevere.